welcome to Two's country and a part of the UK on a rainy day that is very famous for its history, its curiosities and its mystery. And the first mystery is why I'm not going to tell you where we are now. Press your button if you like. Well, all right, it's Stonehenge, of course, and this has to be one of the privileges of the series because, to be perfectly frank, you just don't get to be in here anymore. The reason being that people had actually damaged the site. Can you believe that? They'd even put graffiti on the stones. These stones have travelled all the way from Preseli, the ones on the inner circle, in the Welsh mountains, and on the outer circle from about 20 miles away. Now, when you think that they were dragged here 4 or 4,500 years ago, you might wonder how they did it, or how they managed to balance them on top. See this? A mortise and tenon joint. There would be a lump that would go in that, and that was one of the stones that went across onto 2 upright ones. And isn't it horrible getting weather like this in Stonehenge? And on the outside, a mound that is 5,000 years old, and surrounding the whole area, 300 or so burial grounds from the Stone Age period. So this place is incredibly significant. Why? Well, nobody's got the faintest idea, except that if you look through that stone there, that's where the sun rises on Midsummer's Day, and it sets directly behind you. From that, we can only guess. It's a shame, you know, that when people come to Stonehenge, they don't travel the 2 miles to Woodhenge, which actually is a little bit older. It was found in 1925 when aerial photographs revealed an earth mound all the way around it, which is more or less gone thanks to ploughing of the cornfield, and many, many wooden post holes in a circular formation. They filled those holes in with concrete now, and they've guessed that it was some sort of mushroom-shaped building that was here, but it is only a guess, they've no idea. One thing they do know about is that this was the burial place of a 3-year-old child who was sacrificed to the sun, had its head split open and buried, laying towards the sun. Isn't it strange, you know, that whenever we go to a sun temple, it always pours with rain? Spooky. Yeah, you're getting spooked by all sorts of things around here, aren't you? Like ley lines and superstitions, strange powers. Steady, steady. You what? You think it's all something to do with spacemen? Well, actually, we could go looking for some UFOs later. You see, you leave a sun temple and it starts to cheer up. Now look at that! Salisbury Cathedral, started by Richard Poor in 1220. And in fact, the reason why the whole city of Salisbury came about. That's the highest medieval spire in the whole of England, 404 feet. And that cathedral is full of mystery. What, you think you've found some sort of space connection, do you? No, E.T. is in fact Elizabeth Talman, daughter of John Talman, buried next to her. I'm told they're hypercaustic tiles, which basically means they're glazed or they've been cooked. But I'm going to show you something unbelievable, which as from tomorrow will be covered up and probably won't be seen again by anyone from our generation. A whole floor of these tiles, which has been fairly recently revealed, is being photographed and monitored at this very moment, and the records will be cherished forevermore. If you look down here, we've got the symbols of the Plantagenet king, the rampant lion and the griffin. These were laid when the cathedral was originally built. Not even Westminster Abbeys got anything as beautiful or as intact as these. Like I say, as from tomorrow, covered up for who knows how long. You've got me going up in the air again, haven't you? With a hat on. But actually, I suppose it'll be worthwhile because we're going up to see the incredibly intricate work that is going on constantly to restore the cathedral. In fact, the Clerk of Works has been working on this ever since it was built. Yes. Well, upward we go then. You're stooping again then, are you? Back up. Ah, now, a bell tower. And the only medieval bell that's left in the cathedral came over from the original bell tower. Look at that. So, up the tower we have come, and now to the spire. In fact, there is a plan of the spire, and there it is above us. Started not too many years after the cathedral, the base of the cathedral was actually built, and they put it up in about 30 odd years. Incredible. And if you want to know how they got stone up here, it's over here. A great big wheel, climb over there, which two men would operate, pulling like this. This is the original wheel, by the way, and this would lift about 10 hundredweight of stone right the way to the top. Incredible condition. Oh. Yes, well, oh. Well, out there is all of the mystery and magic and suspense that we're going to be looking at all over Wiltshire. It's not a bad view. No, don't do that. Don't look down like that. You make me go all funny. In fact, if you're going to do anything, look up, because here's some mystery for you. If you see a large white bird encircling the spire, it means that the bishop is about to die. Did you see anything? No, we're all right. We're all right. I think, So you know all about Salisbury now, don't you? What about Sarum? Ah, Sarum's the old word for Salisbury. And this is the old Salisbury. 5,000 years of history here, mate. And this is what it looks like from the inside. Beyond the cars there is the outer wall, which is also known as the Barbican. And then there's a huge moat down there with ever such steep sides up to here. And inside, the inner sanctum, where life took place. And it was life as well, because this wasn't just a fort. This was a town in itself. We're now going to walk where 30 other generations have walked before us. Because this dates right back. Iron Age man had a fortification on top of this hill. The Romans took it over because it was important for them. It was strategically placed on several roads. The Saxons took it over in 553, and it remained with an important presence thereafter. That's the old well, which actually they only found at the beginning of this century. That's the old palace, which Bishop Roger built. Not long after that, they asked papal permission to go and build another palace. In fact, they went down to Salisbury and built the cathedral. And this used to be a huge, great keep, which was a palace residence from William the Conqueror right the way up to Henry VIII. And I'm just going to ask you about another little mystery here. What do you think that was for? A prison? No. It was a cess tank. Can I help you? Oh, well, the church... No, the church is actually quite interesting. You're right. St Giles's, which is in Great Wishford, which is just near Stowford. In fact, here... Now, the interesting thing about the church is there. Bread prices posted on the wall. In fact, engraved in the wall since 1800. Now, the interesting thing is the price itself, which has gone down. If you look at 1800, it was 3 shillings and 4pence per gallon, and then go right the way up to 1920, 2 shillings and 8 pence per gallon. That was after the Great War. Down to 1946, when it was rationed, 2 shillings and 1 pence, right the way up through decimal currency, up to 1984. Bread, £1 and 80 pence per gallon. Gallon? What does it mean? Well, that's how they measure bread. Didn't you know that? In gallons. Well, they do. You get yours from the supermarket at the same time you get the food for Kitty. Yeah, right. Do you know, you go against the grain. We'll move on to yet more mysteries of Wiltshire. This is Clay Hill, which is just outside Warminster. In fact, it's just here, then I'll tell you about it. I've no idea why it's called Clay Hill, because actually it's an 800-foot chalk outcrop. There used to be an Iron Age fort right on top of this, and King Alfred the Great mustered together his troops on top of here, and the Danes, who at the time owned East Anglia, saw all the troops up here and said, nah, and they went back to East Anglia. It's also, and this is why I brought you, the centre for spotting UFOs. And if you look at the view, which is pretty spectacular in all directions, I guess if there is a UFO, you're going to see one here. They even set up a monitoring station, you know. They reckon it's some sort of magnet to UFO. What are you doing? You can't sit down and stay here because we've got to get back to the hotel. You can't stay the night here? What? Well, I suppose if you're going to see UFOs, then you will see them during the night. But are you sure? Well, right. Okay. Okay. Goodbye. So, let me see if I've got this right. You spent the night on the hill. There was a blinding flash, and you woke up this morning with a buzzing in your arm and a sore neck. You reckon you were abducted by aliens. And they wanted to talk to you about Kitty the cat and the new futon you bought last week. Why would aliens want to talk about Kitty the cat and your new futon? Come here. Let me press the replay button. Yes, Close Encounters of the Kipping kind, I think. Now look, I will show you a real mystery right in this hotel. Futon. This is the Rose and Crown Hotel, which is in the Harnham area of Salisbury, just by the cathedral. It's a 13th century coaching house. Now, it has some special rooms. This one, not just because it's named after Sir Edward Heath, who has a long association with the city, but also because it's haunted. Come on in. Come on in. The fireplace here, that's where we'll start. They used to have a big cupboard in front of this fireplace, And during the night, guests complained that all they got was knocking noises from the cupboard. They reckon that someone was trying to get out of the fireplace. Anyway, they moved the cupboard. You're knocking on the wall. They moved the cupboard, and the knockings have actually stopped. So maybe the spirit is free to roam. One thing is true, that they came here and they did an interview for the local radio station. And during the interview within the room, all they got was a noise. When they did the interview outside, it was fine. Back in. When they took it back to the radio station, everything on the tape was fine. No problem at all. Now, is that spooky or what? Me, I'm not bothered. But can you feel something? I mean, you recording all right? Yeah, of course you are. Laycock Village. Isn't that beautiful? Show them where it is. And have you noticed? No lampposts, no television aerials, sad for us, and sad for someone who's got a dog. But anyway, me, I'm off to the Abbey. And these are the very famous cloisters within Laycock Abbey. All sorts of things have been filmed here, from, I think it was a Cadbury's drinking chocolate advert, right the way up to Pride and Prejudice. They have film crews coming through here, and not surprisingly, because it's absolutely beautiful. It's also, of course, in this abbey, which was originally built in 1230, and then during Henry VIII's time was given to one of his mates, who was a bit of a rogue, and turned it into a house, stately home, but fortunately didn't knock down most of the church, which is good news. Anyway, it was here in the abbey that William Fox Talbot, in 1800, did the first ever photograph using negative positive images. And he took a photograph of that window. Well, I was reasonably close. That was actually Fox Talbot's birth date, but 1835 was when he did that photograph I was talking about, in August. And the reason I know that is because there's this wonderful exhibition which has just opened tonight within the museum here, and it's got all sorts of little treats in it, like, for example, that is the size of the camera that he used. There's the picture of the window, or a reproduction of it, and he used a little tiny camera like that. And in here is one of the few rare portraits of Talbot himself. And Mike, who's the curator of the museum, is going to get it out for us. Now, this is actually called a daguerreotype, yes?
That's right. It's a process of his contemporary in France. With the daguerreotype, unfortunately, you only got one image, and if you wanted 10 pictures, you had to sit 10 times in front of the camera. Whereas
his, of course, was a negative, and you could use it, and it developed into everything that we know today.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And there are only 3, and you've got 2.
Yes.
I'll let you put it back.
Right.
Thank you. Now, we're just coming into Avebury. I'll show you where exactly. And this village is remarkable because of stones. If we look up this field first of all, some standing stones there, nothing that. We're going to turn around here into the village. Look at these monsters on this side, enormous, and then round to that side, which is the famous circle of stones. I don't suppose anybody really knows what they're all about, although people have probably tried. Some of the stones have been given modern names and modern interpretations, but they don't seem particularly historic. There's some more big ones over here. It just goes on, and presumably some of these houses have been built over them. Enormous great ones in that field there. Then there's a great big moat and a dike, which you can now see over to the left. Another big stone, and there's the ditch and the dike. And finally we leave the village. You found it then. This is St. Peter's in Broad Hinton, and there's a lovely story in this church which involves this man, Sir Thomas Wroughton. Now, he came back from hunting to find his wife reading the Bible, and she'd made no tea. So he grabbed the Bible, threw it in a fire, and she got it out of the fire, burning her hands. His hands then started to wither away to nothing. And in fact, they had 8 children, and apparently all 8 of the children, 4 boys and 4 girls, had no hands either. And you can see them down the side of the monument. These are the boys here, quite clearly, with no hands, and the girls are further down. Do we believe that story? No, because what would Lady Wroughton be doing making tea anyway? I think she probably had someone to do that for her. So, what do you think this place is then? Yeah, I can tell it's a cinema, obviously, but it's an interesting one, and there's a lot more to it than that. Come on in. John Hall built this. There's a plaque up on the wall, 1470 to 1483. He was the mayor of Salisbury 4 times, and a very successful man, a wool merchant who traded his wool for fine wines and spices, and then sold them in his shop within the town. Extremely wealthy, and I guess he would be pleased to know that his old home is now a 5-screen cinema, and he's making lots of money, just like he did in his day. And you've got some popcorn. Can I have some? Thank you very much. All right. Oh, look, no. You are not watching the whale film again. You've seen it 6 times already, and all you end up doing is crying. You know you do. And anyway, I've got a castle to see. What are you doing? What are you doing? What? Loxley? It is not Loxley Castle. It's nothing to do with What? Kevin Costner, Prince of Thieves, here with that sword? Really? Wow, Kevin Costner used this sword. Yeah. Whoa. Actually, it isn't Loxley at all. It's Wardour Castle. And there is a good story around it because of Lady Blanche Arundel, who was based here. And during the Civil War, her husband was away in Oxford with King Charles. And the Roundheads came. 1,300 of them. Now, she was only here with a staff of about 20, but she held them off for 6 days. And then they said to her, "Oh, all right, lady, if you come out, we'll let you off." And when she came out, they arrested her. Those Roundheads were naughty boys, and they took her off to Shaftesbury. But this is it. Eventually, her son got revenge, though, because he came back and took the garrison of parliamentarians who were here. What are you doing? What are you looking for? For ley lines? They don't draw ley lines on the floor. The lines that you feel, it's a power that runs through the ground. And here, more than anywhere else. You see over there? That's Stonehenge there. And there's a ley line that's in a triangular shape from Stonehenge, which is incredibly powerful, so they say. Starts at the avenue there, and it goes over to the old city of Sarum, and then it goes to Groveley Castle. And these ancient burial mounds are along those lines. Prehistoric man buried here in a great long line of them. There are old warriors beneath our feet, waiting for the sign, waiting for someone to go, "Wake up!" Hello? Look, there's no point in hiding. There's nothing to be frightened of. Standing there, all frozen-like. Anyway, this is the last tumulus in the line out from Stonehenge, and this one has special powers. Is that why you're all scared, stiff? Next time you join us, we're going to be in Cornwall, tin mines, the beauty of Cornwall, and of course the unspoilt history of Cornwall, the Cornish language, Cornish pasties. You'd like those? Or clotted cream? I tell you what about if I drive? No? Oh, please yourself. I'll see you next time. Stay there then.
And Tim Grundy's foray into Cornwall begins right after the break.